With development of future WWE games now using one game engine and publishing on multiple systems, Yuke's and THQ had to find new ways to stay innovative and fresh with the series every year. New game mechanics, features, and DLC. The next game in the series would incorporate all three. WWE Smackdown vs. Raw 2009 was released on November 9, 2008. The main focus of this year's title was a massive improvement to tag team matches. There are now more options for double team moves and ways to tag in. You can perform a blind tag to get yourself in, or build up your momentum meter to initiate a hot tag. The fighting styles from last year's game were removed but reworked as overall abilities for certain wrestlers, like the ability to play possum for a stronger pin or stronger Irish whips. Backstage brawls returned as well as two new match types. Gauntlet had you running through waves of wrestlers similar to slobber knocker modes of past titles, and one of Kane's specialty matches, the Infernal match. Players had to perform devastating moves to increase the fire temperature and then eventually burn their opponent. Road to WrestleMania is this year's story mode. You could choose between Triple H, CM Punk, Chris Jericho, John Cena, The Undertaker, or do a co-op Road to WrestleMania with Rey Mysterio and Batista. Each superstar had their own specific storyline and cutscenes. 2009 also had a separate career mode where you could take any superstar and build them up to win championships. Players can select the opponent based on star rankings, and once built up high enough, you can challenge for a specific title. 2009 was also the first game in the series to offer DLC packs that offered new superstars, movesets, and alternative costumes. A new My WWE option allows you to keep your roster up to date with current WWE product. Players can change from heel to face, and change titles without having playing matches to switch them. On the creation side, you can finally create your own finishing move. By combining and stringing together various animations, you can create a unique finishing move. Or you can do what I and several other people tried to do, and recreate the Canadian Destroyer. Also included was the highlight reel, where you could record up to 30 seconds of moves and add special effects. 2009 was well received by fans, but mixed by critics and gaming sites, saying that the gameplay was running a little stale. We would have to wait and see next year if THQ and Yuke's can step it up for the next title. Smackdown vs. Raw 2010 was released on October 20th, 2009. The game shows a major improvement by cleaning up the HUD on screen. Players now have momentum halos to show finisher progress. The control scheme has changed as well, incorporating strong grapples and reducing counterattacks and grapples to one button. Yuke's and THQ also integrated the Havoc's physics engine to help with collision detection with superstars against the ropes and each other, something that the series has been struggling with for years. A training center in the title screen helps newcomers to get used to the new control settings. Players could also program the AI with various actions, much like tutorial modes in fighting games like Street Fighter 4 and Mortal Kombat. The Royal Rumble has a huge change to the way you eliminate competitors. Players now have to perform QTE button presses when opponents are near the apron or corners. Yuke's also added the championship scramble match, where the person who scored the last pinfall in the allotted time becomes the champion. 2010 also started to incorporate the changes within the PG era of the WWE. You could no longer have males attack females. The closest you could get would be a mixed tag match, but if you were to attack them, you would get disqualified. On the creation front, you can now create finishing moves off the top rope. A paint tool will allow you to create logos, and a story mode where you can craft your own cutscenes and matches. Career mode is unchanged from last year, but Road to WrestleMania returns with an additional Create a Wrestler storyline and a Diva storyline with Mickie James. New online features now allow players to upload and download created wrestlers, movesets, and highlight reels. In the past, websites like caws.ws would have steps and stats to create superstars, but with this feature, all the work is done for you. 2010 was another title that received mixed reviews, citing that there was still not enough change to make it stand out from last year's title. So the question is, what will come of 2011? Smackdown vs. Raw 2011 was released on October 26, 2010. The career mode and My WWE mode of yesteryear have been replaced with the all-new WWE Universe mode. You can now play through entire seasons of shows and pay-per-views with randomly generated matches, or tweak them to your own design. Depending on your action in matches, you'll trigger cutscenes to help develop organic storylines like teaming up with somebody or turning on them. Road to WrestleMania returns with storylines centered around Chris Jericho, Rey Mysterio, John Cena, and Christian, with a versus Undertaker storyline to break the streak at WrestleMania. You can choose between Dolph Ziggler, R-Truth, Kofi Kingston, John Morrison, or your own creative wrestler. And as far as news features, that's it. Besides changing up the story modes for Road to WrestleMania and adding Universe mode, Smackdown vs. Raw 2011 did not add that many new features from last year's title. This would also be the last title to be released on last-gen consoles and handhelds, with the company wanting to focus on the systems that they sell the best on. However, the next title would see a dramatic change in not only the game, but in the name itself. WWE 12 was released on November 22, 2011. THQ and Yuke's completely changed the control scheme to match that of the old Aki engine games from the Nintendo 64 games. Grapples have been moved from the right analog stick to the A button. After initiating the grapple, you can tap the A button in a direction to pull a move, or hold the A button to start a submission. This year's title also introduces what developers call the Predator system. No, not that Predator. Although that would be freaking awesome! What this system is the ability to cancel other players' moves. No longer would you have to wait for someone to finish that suplex animation. You can now interrupt it by attacking them, and you can even do this with finishing moves. You can also hold down the right bumper button in the initial grapple to target a specific body part and hit one of the corresponding buttons to attack it. This is a great mechanic for submission specialists who want to weaken a body part for later. Speaking of which, the right analog stick no longer pulls back on a submission. You now get a meter that says breaking point, which you have to fill to red by button mashing. Another new feature is the comeback meter. Certain superstars with this equipped can press Y to activate it to fill up their momentum meter after completing a QuickTime event. You can also start a wake-up taunt to lead into a finishing move, like Orton smashing his arms to set up for an RKO. Road to WrestleMania has changed completely from last year's title. Instead of being given the option to select a superstar to use, you have one linear storyline with different individuals, starting with Sheamus, Triple H, and a created wrestler by the name of Jacob Cass, which I totally made to look like Guile from Street Fighter. Fun fact, did you know former Ring of Honor and TNA World Champion Austin Aries provided the voice of Jacob Cass in WWE 12? Through the Road to WrestleMania, you can walk around the backstage area and also have separate objectives to do besides wrestling. You might just have to beat a guy senseless in the ring or in the backstage area to progress the story. On the creation side, WWE 12 adds in a new feature fans have been asking for years. Create an Arena allows you to take a stock arena and add your own colors to the posts, announce tables, and ring aprons. You can upload and download other people's creations as well. WWE 12 was a vast improvement over their past iterations. By going for a more simplified control scheme, it helped newcomers pick up and play the game easier. WWE 13 was released on October 30th, 2012. The game boasts a more WWE Live feel by giving the player OMG moments where you can spear someone through the barricade or collapse the ring. Road to WrestleMania has retired, but in its place is the Attitude Era mode, where you can relive and reenact matches and moments from the creation of DX, the Montreal Screwjob, and the rise of Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, and Mankind. You'll be given objectives to complete matches, but optional objectives will unlock alternate costumes, other Attitude Era wrestlers, and arenas. No other changes were made, and nothing else really sticks out about this title from last year. Oh, Zack Ryder's Internet Championship made it in. There's that. WWE 13 would also be the final WWE game to be released on the Nintendo consoles. 2K Sports is now taking the helm, and now we'll get to see what they have to offer. WWE 2K14 was released on October 29, 2013. is essentially the same game as last year's, with some reviewers and critics scratching their heads asking what's the difference between 2K and THQ. Well, after they purchased the franchise, they found that Yuke's already had a high percentage of the game and assets done when they took over, and rather than throw out all that work, they decided to continue work on this version and start from scratch next time. The only changes made from last year to this year's was the switch from Attitude Era mode to 30 Years of WrestleMania mode. It's the same mode, but reenacting the classic matches of the Showcase of the Immortals, but just with Legend still friendly to WWE. So no Lesnar vs. Angle or Guerrero vs. Angle, yet we get to play the 5-star classic that is Lesnar vs. Goldberg. Yay! WWE 2K14 created a new mode, all involving The Undertaker and his WrestleMania streak. You can try and beat the streak. The keyword is try, as The Undertaker is super OP. No matter what difficulty settings you put, he'll still be impossible to beat. He teleports, he kicks out at 2 after multiple finishers, he can hit finishers from out of nowhere, or you can be OP Taker and defend the streak, where you try to outlast a gauntlet of superstars trying to beat you. These new modes gave something different, but not enough to overshadow the fact that it's been the same exact game for the last 3 years. As mentioned before, WWE 2K14 was heavily criticized for being most of the same. For the past 14 to 15 years, we've seen the series evolve from 3 console generations, starting on the PS1, PS2, PS3, Xbox 360, Nintendo Wii, and handhelds. So what will the next generation bring? Join me next time when the Achievement Whore presents WWE 2K15 for the Xbox One.